I can't buy the air I breathe. I can't buy the trees. I can't buy the deepest seas. But it don't matter, 'cause they're there for free.
Hello everybody, welcome to Around the World in 88 Tales. And I'm joined for our new session by Baba-Cee in Washington, DC. How are you, Baba-Cee?
You know what? I'm enjoying this thoroughly thoughtful, thankful Thursday. And all things considered, I'm magnificent. I did my first live performance since COVID yesterday.
Wow.
It wore me out, but it was so much fun.
Wow.
It was for senior citizens, and I keep forgetting I'm a senior citizen.
You're young at heart.
Yeah, that's what they kept saying.
So you're here, right, in Washington, DC?
Yes, I'm. What that map indicates is Washington, D.C., which is nestled kind of between the states of Maryland and Virginia.
Okay. So I'm here in Exeter.
Yes.
And Baba-Cee, I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself, about storytelling, about why you want to be involved in this Around the World in 88 Tales project.
Okay, well, I was born in a small log cabin. Oh, wait, no, that's not me. I'm sorry, that's not me. I'm a native Washingtonian. And growing up in Washington, D.C., Washington, D.C. is a mini version of the world, because we have people from everywhere. And so when I was growing up, I had friends from all around the world, and I didn't know it, but people were saying that I was a mini UN, United Nations, because my friends were from Japan, Germany, Australia, all that kind of good stuff. And so I grew up with an interest in, I guess, what we now call global views, which plays a kind of interesting part in me becoming a storyteller. I'm at least a third generation storyteller on my father's side of the family.
Wow.
And depending on who you listen to, I've been telling stories since birth. Hopefully good stories. In 1976, I was at the Folklife Festival sponsored by the Smithsonian Institute, which is like humongous complex of museums. And one of the men telling stories sounded like my Uncle Charles. Well, he was my Uncle Charles. Flash forward in 2012, although he was an ancestor now, in 2012, I had the pleasure and honor of being the storyteller for the Folklife Festival sponsored by the Smithsonian Institute.
Fantastic.
So the oral history has always been a part of me, because before we had desegregation in schools, especially when we had desegregation in schools, there was a lot of history about African Americans that was not taught. And I learned about it by reading and listening to my elders. So that's kind of a long about way to say that I'm interested in storytelling, because storytelling helps to preserve, promote, and protect one's heritage and one's culture. And these stories need to be told and told and told, because we cannot rely on publishers, as a rule, to publish our stories unless they think they can make lots of profit off of it. So I'm a storyteller to teach and to encourage and to inspire.
Fantastic. I'm so glad I've got to know you, because it's only in the last few months since the World Storytelling Cafe, where we both are regulars, I've got to know you and got to hear your stories. And it's such a joy to be able to share stories with you and lots of young storytellers around the world. But listen, Baba-Cee, what's the deal here? I'm going to show you an object from the museum here in Exeter, from the RAMM Museum. I'm going to tell a story, and I'm going to invite you to respond by telling a story that it inspires. And I know you haven't prepared this. This is really going to be spontaneous. So let's find out.
I have no objection to that.
We're going to find out what this object is going to be. So here is the museum from the outside. And the other day I was in the museum, and I was in the antiquities section. And here are some. Well, I'm going to get out of the way so you can see this really clearly. Here, I am in my mask next to two animals which are both musical instruments, but they're really old. These were found in Cyprus, in the east of the Mediterranean, and they are about 3,500 years old. And on the far side, you can see an owl. An owl. And this owl is actually, believe it or not, it's a rattle. It kind of makes a rattling sound. Okay. And this is what it looks like from the front. So this is an ancient owl from the ancient Greek world. And there's lots of stories in many cultures about owls. I mean, in Greek mythology, in ancient Greek mythology, the owl is an emblem of wisdom, the emblem of Athena. It represents a protection as well. I'm going to tell you a story about an owl, but it comes from here. It's an English story. Not many of the stories I tell are English, but this one is. And Shakespeare knew this story because in the play Hamlet, Ophelia, when she's kind of losing her mind, says, "The owl was a baker's daughter. We know what we are, but know not what we may be." So, Baba-Cee, I'm going to tell you the story, The Owl Was a Baker's Daughter. And when I've finished, I'll invite you to respond. Here we go. Once upon a time, there was a good-hearted baker, and he lived with his daughter, and one night they were shutting up the shop, and an old woman appeared in the street. She was wearing rags and a hood over her face, and she stuck out a bony finger towards the daughter and said, "Baker girl, bake me some bread. Bake me some bread, because soon I'll be dead." "Get away with you, old woman," said the baker's daughter, but her father said, No, daughter. I can go and make the house warm. You stay here in the shop. The oven is still warm and there's a little dough. Go and bake this old woman some bread." And the father, the baker, went away, and the daughter miserably went in the shop. The oven was still hot. She took a little roll of dough, put it in the oven and closed the door, and the old crone had shuffled in behind her. Immediately, the shop was filled with the smell of delicious baking bread. And I don't know about you, but that's one of my favourite smells. So soon, the girl opened the oven, and there was a large loaf of bread. "This is too good for that old beggar woman." She set it aside, turned and said, "Get out of the shop, old woman, away with you." But again, the old woman said, and if you want to, Baba-Cee, you can say it with me, and you can as well if you're listening in from home. Baker girl, bake me some bread. Bake me some bread, because soon I'll be dead. Well, the girl remembered her father's words. So she took another piece of dough, a smaller piece this time, popped it into the hot oven and closed the door. And straight away, the whole of the bakery smelled of that fresh baked bread. She opened the door. How can this be? There was a large loaf, almost as big as the oven itself. She lifted it out carefully so as not to burn her fingers. This could be sold for a good price tomorrow. "Get out, old woman, get out!" But again the old woman shuffled closer, pressing her bony finger into the girl's chest. "Baker girl, bake me some bread. Bake me some bread, because soon I'll be dead." The girl, remember what her father said. She took the tiniest piece of dough, popped it in the oven, closed the lid. Immediately, the smell of baking bread. She opened the door. The bread was so big, the loaf filled it. She could hardly lift it out. And as she turned to shoo away the old woman, he saw something that amazed her. That old woman was transforming before her eyes. The cloak fell from her head. Her clothes became wings. It was an angel shining there. An angel. And the girl looked at this shining figure and said, "Who? Who? Who?" The girl looked, and her own arms had become feathered wings. Her face had become hook-beaked. And she flew over the head of that angel, out of the door of the shop, over the nighttime roofs of the houses of the town, and away. Woo-hoo! The owl was a baker's daughter. We know what we are, but know not what we may be. Thanks, Baba-Cee. Thanks for helping me to tell that story.
How could I not? I will rise to the occasion when telling my story. See what I did there?
Maybe there's something in my story. Maybe it's the owl. Maybe it's the story itself or the theme of the story. Whatever story springs to mind, please share us. Tell us a tale, Baba-Cee. Tell us a tale.
Well, your story and the owl actually remind me of a story I tell. So I'm going to endeavor to reduce a 30-minute story to 3 minutes. But I have to start out by saying, you know what I'm about to do. This story took place a long time ago. I started to hold it longer, but hey, you get the idea. So this is way back in the day. And this story is about an owl, but it's also about why mosquitoes buzz in people's ears. And if you've ever been out during the summer, you've dealt with mosquitoes. So a long time ago, Mosquito came across his best friend, who was an iguana. And he said to the iguana, "You know what I saw today? I saw a farmer digging up yams as big as me." Now, the iguana didn't want to hear this foolishness. I mean, a yam as big as a mosquito? Plus, they were down at the watering hole where you were only supposed to tell the truth. So the iguana said, "Whack, whack." That's not what iguanas say, but I have to have a sound effect. He said, "I have no time for this foolishness." "No, really. I saw a farmer digging up yams as big as me." Iguana stuck 2 branches in his ear. Don't do this at home. He was a trained professional. He stuck 2 branches in his ears and went about his way. And he could no longer hear the mosquito. In fact, he couldn't hear anything. Brother Snake came up, and he was speaking to the iguana. He said, "Hello, Brother Iguana." But Iguana didn't hear him because he had 2 branches stuck in his ears. So Snake turned around and saw these big things sticking out of Iguana's ears, and he took off. Well, he didn't have legs, so he slithered off, and he ran down a rabbit hole. When the rabbit saw the snake coming down into his hutch, the rabbit panicked and shot out the back door. When the rabbit shot out the back door, a monkey saw him running, and the rule of the jungle is, during the day you only run if there's an emergency. So the monkey knew something was up and began to swing from branch to branch so he could warn the king. But while he was swinging, he broke a branch, and the branch fell and fell and fell, and it landed in a nest where there was an owlet, and unfortunately, it sent the owlet to its ancestors. When Mother Owl came home that evening, she saw that her owlet was no longer in this world. She was very sad. So sad she did not do her job. And her job was to call forth the morning sun. So when it became night, it stayed nighttime. And it stayed nighttime so long, the king said, "Why is it still not? Where is the day?" And someone said, "Mother Owl has not brought forth the day." Well, find out why. Bring me Mother Owl. So they brought forth Mother Owl. And he said, why have you not called forth the morning sun? She said, O mighty Oba, when I returned home, my owlet had joined the ancestors, and I'm so sad and so full of grief that I will not call forth the morning sun until I find out who killed my baby owl. And the king said, we must find this out. Someone said, I saw the monkey. Bring me the monkey. And they brought him the monkey. And he said, why did you kill the baby owl? I did not mean to, my king. I was minding my business, and I saw the rabbit running. You know the rule of the jungle. No running during the day unless it's an emergency. And so I was coming to tell you something was wrong. And the branch fell, and it killed the baby owl. But you see, it was really rabbit's fault. Bring me the rabbit. And they brought the rabbit. Why did you run, scaring the monkey who broke the limb that killed the baby owl? I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. I was minding my business in my hutch, and the snake came down in my hutch, and I thought it was going to eat me, so I ran out the back door, and I didn't mean to scare the monkey who broke the branch that killed the baby owl. It's not my fault. It's snake's fault. Bring me the snake. And they brought the snake, and it was a long snake, and they brought the snake, and said, Snake, why did you scare the rabbit who terrified the monkey that dropped the branch and killed the baby owlet? And now mother owl won't bring forth the morning sun. It was not my intention. I was minding my business. I was down by the watering hole speaking to Brother Iguana, and he attacked me with these two huge weapons sticking out of his ears. I didn't mean to run into the hutch to scare the rabbit that terrified the monkey that dropped the branch to kill the baby owl, and now she won't call forth the morning sun, Mother Owl, that is. Then bring me the iguana. And they found the iguana. Iguana, why did you... Iguana, I'm talking to you. Someone take those things out of his ears. Iguana, why did you terrify? Why did you attack the snake? I wasn't attacking the snake. I was down by the watering hole, and the iguana, the mosquito was saying, you know what I saw today? I saw a farmer digging up yams as big as me. I don't have time for such foolishness, and you're not supposed to lie at the watering hole. I didn't mean to scare the snake that terrified the rabbit, that scared the monkey that dropped the branch that killed the baby owlet, and now Mother Owl won't bring forth the morning sun. It's the mosquito's fault. It's the mosquito's fault. Bring me the mosquito. Well, mosquito had been listening on a leaf and knew that it was in trouble. So when people looked up, mosquito went down. When people went down, mosquito went up. When people looked that way, mosquito went this way. When people went this way, mosquito went that way. And mosquito was still hiding until this very day. But every now and then, mosquito will come out and say, are you still angry with me? And people respond by going, oh yes. And eventually Mother Owl started bringing back the morning sun. Hoo, hoo.
Thank goodness that she started bringing back the morning sun, or we would have been in perpetual night.
Yes.
Baba-Cee, that was absolutely fantastic. How did that story come your way?
That's a good question. This is one of the stories I've been telling for a long, long time. So this story is a combination of a story I read and hearing different storytellers tell. And one of my projects now is to go back and do the research on where, because I've been hearing stories from so many sources, to go back to find out the original. But there are many different versions of the story, but this is my favorite, although shortened. This is my favorite version of the story. Yeah. In fact, I like to use the story.
I can imagine that could easily be a 30-minute story, but you put it. We got the distillation. We got the pure power of that story. Thank you so much, Baba-Cee. Thank you for
Pleasure's mine.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. This was very important to me because storytelling is meant to be shared. And this platform is going to share these stories, mine and the other storytellers, beyond our borders. You know what? We're storytellers without borders.
This is it. This is it.
Oh, wow.
This is it.
So the pleasure is mine. Asante Sana. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Baba-Cee. I wonder what stories were told about this toy owl 3,500 years ago in ancient Greece. Was it a child's rattle? I wonder. We don't know, but it could have been. So, Baba-Cee, thank you so much. The next live story share is going to be next Tuesday morning. So, tune in, everybody. Don't miss it. And for now, Around the World in 88 Tales bids you farewell.
To be continued.
I can't buy the trees. I can't buy the deepest seas. But it don't matter, 'cause they're there for free.